Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Good afternoon, Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League fans, into, the first edition of the mmjhl podcast. In November, it's Ep.7, it's Season 3, it's all here on your home for mmjhl hockey. Still here in 2025-2026 on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. We're brought to you by Elite Prospects, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Movement Fitness and Performance, Terrico, as well as goaltenders. We got an exciting night and weekend of mmjhl coverage coming up. 6 games on the schedule, which we'll get into that coming up right away. But in terms of how this is what the upcoming schedule ends up looking like, is there's going to be 3 games tomorrow. We got 2 games tonight. It's going to be Victorias and Royal Knights, and then the Stonewall Jets host the Transcona Railer Express. All 4 of those teams will get the day off tomorrow, and then a jam-packed schedule on Sunday, as all 10 teams will be in action in the league, and then another doubleheader coming up next Thursday. But in terms of the standings, how they look after the past weekend of games, the Riels on top at 10-0. We're going to show you how they did that in just a moment here. The Royal Knights, Hawks, and Railer Express all at 7 wins apiece. The Jets, they were able to tough one out against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club in a shootout this past weekend to secure their spot right now at 5th place in the standings. They'll, of course, be hoping to move on up a bit with a win against the Railer Express. That's what they'd be hoping for tonight, of course. But the Twins, Junior Canucks, Victorias, and Twisters all near the bottom of the standings. The Victorias and Twisters, the 2 teams that are out of the playoffs for the time being. As we will get into some highlights to start things off before we bring in the guests of today's podcast, and Tyler Anderson of the St. Vital Junior Victorias ahead of their matchup against the River East Royal Knights tonight. But as we start off in Sunday's action, the first November action of the season, we had 2 games on the schedule for that broadcast, and that ended up being, 2 broadcasts, and it was the Railer Express going at it against the St. Boniface Riels, as the Riels were looking to get to 10-0 at the time. The Railer Express looking to avenge their loss against St. Boniface on that first night of the season, as those 2 teams opened up their seasons against each other all the way back on Friday, October 3rd. this year in the mmjhl. As for the Reals, they continue to look as strong as ever. As we pick things up in the second period, no goal scored in the first, but that would change as into the back of the net for Cole Davis, as he would have his 18th point of the season in that matchup. Brzezinski as well, adding to his point total with that secondary assist, sending that to the net. It would be 1-0 after the second period of action, and the Reals would go up by 2, and then up by 3 is Grayson Matthews puts it to the forehand, rips it into the back of the net. And as for the Reals, they would skate off to a 3-0 win. That would be the final in that matchup. And the Reals, of course, as we showed you, start off the season with a perfect 10-0 record, which is crazy to say, but seeing this team in action now, they're looking, well, on par with last year's Reals team, looking even better to start off the season with that perfect 10-0 record. But as for a team that has an opposite record pretty much compared to the Reals, the Pembina Valley Twisters ended up taking on the River East Royal Knights. And as for Pembina Valley, I think that there's got to be some credit handed to them, as they've been so close to getting victories, and they were even up in this game. But the Royal Knights, they're a team that's battled through adversity well this season, and a team that continues to look for real, as Bentley Brandt and the Prairie Sports Network crew was carrying this game on our Uscreen service on Sunday night, as the Royal Knights, going to show you a bit of a bigger highlight, a longer highlight here to start things off for this one, as it really starts with that turnover at the blue line. Pembina Valley is able to work it towards the net, and it would be Aiden Younghusband who would put it into the back of the net for his first goal of the season. Pembina Valley would go up 2-0 in the first period, but the Royal Knights would strike back with a goal from Lane Richardson. Then Kalen Reynolds ends up finding this puck and puts it into the back of the net for his fourth of the season. As well, I'm sure they're happy to have him back. As I've talked about before, he went over to the Hawks last season in a trade. Now he's back with the Royal Knights. But the Royal Knights, in the first period, near the end of it, sloppy in their own end as it's turned over in the slot. Off the backboards, Vlad Stepik is able to find that for his fourth of the season, and Pembina Valley would go up 3-2 and take that lead heading into the first intermission. But the Royal Knights would waste no time at striking back, as Liam Urcioli is able to tuck that one past number 30 in Darian Penner. And quickly afterwards, or not quickly afterwards actually, at the end of the period, which the Royal Knights start off with an early goal, it would be Parker Carrolls who would rip one home for his first of the season as he beats the outstretched glove of Penner. The Royal Knights would add on 2 more in the third period of action to take that game 6-3 over Pembina Valley, as Pembina Valley fell to 0-9-1. River East to 7-3 on the season, which is their best start in a long time. And for well, another team in the mmjhl that they're actually going to be going up against, the Royal Knights, that is, they're going to be going up against the St. Patel Junior Victorias, a team that at the end of pretty much the past 3 regular seasons or so have finished about middle of the pack, either 4th or 5th place, around that spot. And yeah, not off to that start at all this season, as they are 2-6-2, as we showed you. But I think that this team is knocking on the door of maybe getting hot soon if they can start to put things together. And Tyler Anderson, their head coach, joins the show to talk about what it's been like coaching a younger Victoria's team and more here on the mmjhl podcast, season 3, episode 7. Tyler Anderson, Victoria's Benchbox, joins the show next. It's a classic guest, starting to become that here on the show as he makes another appearance, and head coach of the Junior Victorias, and Tyler Anderson. Bit different talking to you today compared to other years where the team is near the bottom two of the standings, actually at ninth place right now with the 2-6-2 record. But yeah, take me through what the start to the season's been like. A few more bumps in the road compared to years past.
Yeah, it's every team you have is different. This year's team is very young, like with four 2008 born players. Definitely a different experience. I think the talent of the room is very, very good. It's just a matter of growing, and obviously as coaches, we've got to coach this team differently. More focus on skill development with these guys rather than maybe just systems right off the bat like we had in previous years with older teams. So it's been a challenge, but it's been fun. Like I've told the other coaches, I think this team has been maybe one of the most fun team I've had to coach because they're young and there's just so much that goes into coaching them. So.
Yeah, and I mean some of those young players, right? Like Chris Osterino, for example, who's born in 2008. Just looking down the line here, like Jackson Green as well, and he's looked pretty solid so far. And then of course there's a few others on this group. But yeah, just in terms of that dynamic, how much hope does that give this franchise, knowing that you already see that young talent shining through already in this first year?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the future is bright with this team. Like not only are they good players, but they're really good kids. Like all of our 08s and 07s, they show up every single day. They want to work, they want to get better, and they want to win games. Like it's not like they're happy. They're not happy losing. So I think it's the Vics are in a good spot going forward, and that's why I'm a little bit upset that this is my last year with the team. Obviously, with my schooling, I want to see this team grow, but obviously it'd be fun to watch this team grow over the next few years from the outside watching too. So,
No, and yeah, Coach Anderson breaking some news here that this is kind of the last dance for now, right?
oh,
For him in this
sorry, I thought that
league.
was more common knowledge, but yeah, yeah, just with year three of medical school, unfortunately, I won't be able to keep doing it, but just gonna try to make this last year really special, enjoy every minute of it. So,
I mean, hey, medical school, it's a handful, right? And I mean, you know that already, and great that you've been able to volunteer your time throughout these past three seasons being this team's coach. And I mean, looking at the results so far, like this team has been in almost every single game, really. It's just, I guess, kind of lacking consistency right now in terms of how this team's played throughout 60 minutes. Would you say that's maybe the biggest challenge so far, looking for this group to play that full 60?
yeah, that's actually, that's what I said against after that Twins game on Sunday. You lose 4-3 when you're up 3-2 with 4 minutes to go. I think that's just like an immaturity thing. That these are the growing pains that I'm kind of talking about, where winning in junior hockey is really tough, and it takes a while to learn. And I think these guys just need these lessons to eventually get over that hump and hopefully, come Christmas time after Christmas, like we learn these lessons here early on and can kind of close out those games. So definitely been some learning periods, but like you said, we're in every game. It's not like we're just being absolutely dominated. Like guys are battling, they're playing hard. We're just making simple mistakes right now that are just costing us early on in the season.
And of course, starting to get the power play going too some more. It ranks now third in the league. But yeah, in terms of, I guess, working on the defensive zone and things like that, the PK has kind of been a bit worrisome, I guess, on paper early on, given that it's ranked ninth in the league at 73.3%. I guess what's going to be the emphasis on looking to get those areas to improve outside of course, preaching that full 60 to this group?
Yeah, I think in terms of special teams, although our power play has been scoring, I think we can do a better job. Like I think we're not sustaining pressure. We're scoring on our opportunities right now, but I don't think that's going to be sustainable. So definitely lots more work to do on the power play. In terms of penalty kill, to be honest, even though the numbers aren't good, um, I've been kind of happy with how the groups responded to the system. I think we do a couple things that hurt us in that part of our game where one, we're taking way too many penalties. So you're killing too much in a game, and if you give another team 6 or 7 opportunities, they're probably going to figure out things that you did well, rather than if you give them 3 to 4 opportunities a game where your penalty kill can do better. Giving up 5 on threes too, right? It's obviously teams more likely to score on a 5 on 3 than a 5 on 4. So first things first, we got to stay out of the box, but then also we got to look at structure to where things are breaking down and hopefully make adjustments to our system itself too. So kind of twofold there.
Yeah, and it still is early on in the season, right? Still the whole month of November to be played. Just finished the first month of the season, and yeah, not quite at that full 45 yet in terms of total games that are played through the regular season for the 10 teams in this league. But no captain named this year, four assistants, and I guess a captain was named in terms of Carter Wilson. Just wow. Seeing that news myself, and I'm not even a part of this team, it was devastating. I can't even imagine what it was like hearing that news, being his coach and, for the players on this group. But take me through what that's been like from this group to be able to battle through that very devastating adversity that's been laid on them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been tough. Especially just like seeing the guys in the room that were really close to him because you could tell he meant a lot to a lot of players in the room. A lot of guys were really close with him because he was such a special human being. So obviously that was just absolutely shocking and heartbreaking news. And I do think it's nice to see how much closer the guys became because of it, in a sense, if you know what I'm saying. Like, guys really just leaned on each other and needed each other and talked with each other and spent more time with each other, I think, which has been great. And obviously, not naming a captain this year. Well, we did name our captain. It's Carter Wilson because of the impact he left in our room. We felt this year with a young team, we weren't really sure who could take on that role. We have a lot of good leaders, but we didn't really have one player that um, absolutely just grabbed onto that captain. And just in the coaching staff's mind, Carter was everything that we would want in a captain. Showed up every single day, communicated well, was well liked in the room and well liked by the coaches. So it was honestly an easy decision to kind of name him our honorary captain this year and have his jersey on the bench reminding us about how special of a person and player he was and remind us that, life can be cruel and short and should play for our teammates. So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if, I mean, so much goes into that decision, right? Like you just said, to be able to give him the C, and it seemed like you just said, pretty easy based on his character and the type of person he was to give that C to his jersey. But do you feel like it's special too, knowing that you're just able to keep his memory alive, keeping him on the roster and keeping him a part of this group in a way?
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to make sure that he was kept on this fixed roster, that he was remembered, because I think that's what he deserved. We said no matter what, Carter Wilson will be with us this year. Number 17 will be with us this year, and I'm just glad that we're able to keep him on the roster, and I think it's been good for our team to kind of rally around. And just like try to have someone to look up to and to see to envision the type of player they want to be, the type of person they want to be. So
Yeah, and it keeps him in everyone's memory, and it's been great to see his jersey hung on the bench every single game that we've been to, and every single game that this team has played this season. I think Carter would be proud of this team's effort right now, and I think he'd be excited to see this team in action if he was still here against the River East Royal Knights coming up tomorrow night. I guess the day this podcast comes out, the evening of it. But going up against the River East Royal Knights team, who they've started off with probably the best start I've ever seen them get off to in my time covering this league. It's 7-3. Of course, your team desperate to get back into the win column, looking to pull off a bit of an upset at this point in the standings. The mindset heading in, you alluded to it before we actually went live, that this team maybe took them a bit lightly in that second game of the season. I assume not going to be the same mentality coming in this time around.
yeah, no, that's something that we practice tonight. That's something we're going to be emphasizing tonight is, that good start. You can't take off any time in a game in this league. That's one thing I found in my 3 years in the league here now is that there's certain games, it's junior hockey, where guys will maybe take a night off. So they beginning of the year, you see that River East struggled last year. Guys maybe thought this game might be a little bit easier. That's not the case. It's a new year, it's a new team, and they're a damn good team too. So I think that loss at home early in the year was a little bit of awakening for our guys, and I would hope there's a better response from us and wanting to win this game and get back at them for earlier in the year.
Yeah, and River East is, I guess, on paper, kind of in an opposite spot compared to this Fix team, as they got a lot of experienced players coming back this season, a very skilled team on paper. As a coach, what would you say is probably the things that you guys key in on the most when a team like this is coming into your building?
I think you want to take away time and space as much as possible against a team like this. Like they are they're well structured, they're big, they're strong, they're fast. So if you can get on the forecheck early and kind of disrupt them getting up the ice or back check harder and disrupt all men rushes, you're going to take away more of their chances than they would have if you weren't doing that. So I think last game, our forecheck wasn't very good. They broke out the puck very easily. And they sustained a lot of ozone time off of that. So I think tomorrow the key is to, just take away space, be aggressive on that forecheck early, defend hard, and just make sure we're not giving them anything, make them earn everything.
Yeah, and we'll see if that comes to fruition tomorrow, or I guess tonight, once this game has the puck dropped on it. River East coming into St. Vital to battle Tyler Anderson, St. Vital Junior Victorias. Tyler, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on this podcast, doing this interview. Best of luck coming up against the Royal Knights, and best of luck in your medical school exam coming up on Friday. Hey.
Right on. Thanks a lot, Graham, and thanks for covering the league.
And Tyler Anderson, Victoria's bench boss, joining this edition of the mmjhl podcast, season 3, episode 7, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terraco, Movement, Fitness, and Performance, elite prospects, as well as goaltenders. And yeah, as for the past weekend of games slash week of games, as we look back to Friday, the Victorias ended up losing by a score. Realizing I cropped it too much here, but these were most of the victors on the right. So I'll pull up the mmjhl schedule. But it was St. James who won 4-3 over the Victorias. Stonewall ended up falling 5-1 to River East. So it was a strong weekend overall for River East in the end, as they persevered through, well, some sloppy puck management and a bit of a slower start than they've seen in the past this season against Pembina Valley. But as for, a huge victory in the standings on the Thursday game against Stonewall with that 5-1 victory in Stonewall's home barn down at the MSC. But as for Stonewall bouncing back with a shootout victory this past Sunday, as they ended up defeating the Raiders Junior Hockey Club 4-3 in a game which they came back. And as for Transcona, they ended up winning 5-0 on Halloween night against St. James, but wasn't the same story for them on the Sunday game, which we covered, as St. Boniface totally stifled what's been the #1 offense in the mmjhl this season by goals for per game. As for Charleswood, they won in a thrilling matchup over St. James 8-6. As we take a look at St. James, they end up losing 2 games in a row. As for Charleswood, a close victory against St. Vital on Friday on Halloween, a matchup where, for St. Vital, impressive. They keep it as close as they did. They lost 5-3, and they were coming off of a close matchup the night before, right? So St. Vital ended up having a 3-game weekend where, against Fort Garry, like mentioned by head coach and Tyler Anderson, this team ended up going up in this game 2-1, and then they're unable to hold the lead. They have it tied up again. They get the lead back at 3-2, but then 2 straight goals Fort Garry throughout the course of that period, not even the course of it, but throughout, well, 14 seconds apart, basically, as they scored just over 17 seconds in, and then 14 seconds later, boom, they're able to get the game-winning goal scored by Matt Lazat. Pembina Valley, they were close, as mentioned. Taking a look at their matchup once again against the Twins this past Friday on Halloween, they end up losing 5-0, so a better effort from this group in that matchup against Sunday, but still, of course, searching for that illustrious first win that it's kind of been haunting them so far this season. But it is a new month, and coming up next, we're going to go through the power rankings to start off this month. We're also going to show you who ended up winning awards from the month of October in terms of top forward, top defenseman, rookie, and goaltender. And then we're going to preview the upcoming matchups tonight. St. Vital hosts the River East Royal Knights, and the Stonewall Jets at home to take on the Transcona Railer Express in what should be two really entertaining games tonight. You're watching the mmjhl podcast, Season 3, Episode 7. Coming up next, more content, but first, a word from Can Central Sports Card and Memorabilia. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And welcome back to the mmjhl podcast here on your home for mmjhl hockey, gshow productions and gshow.ca, as we take you through the past weekend matchups, the results from them, and we're going to take you through power rankings and a whole lot more coming up next. But first, we're going to take you through this month's schedule, as we already of course, cover that November 2nd game, Railers and Riels, but we got plenty more this month coming up, as it's going to be quite a busy February for both of our crews here with G-Show Productions and the Prairie Sports Network. But yeah, we'll be in Morris on Friday night. It's going to be the first time that we go out there, and one of the few times this season that my crew does. But lots of X games on the schedule. We got 3 or 4 road games from the Charleswood Hawks, as that game at the end of the month should be very entertaining, as the Hawks will be taking on the Railer Express. A few Raiders home games in there, and a Jets game, of course, the rivalry against St. Vital and St. Boniface. No matter where these teams are in the standings, it never gets old to see these two teams clash against each other, as that's actually going to be on my sister's birthday. Happy early birthday to her. But for Prairie Sports Network, they're going to have 2 Twins games on the schedule, as we see their captain and David Balshaw there. Twins hoping that he's going to be healthy coming up for the upcoming parts of the season, as I'm not even sure if he's back in the lineup yet, but I know that he missed time the last time that we covered the Twins. As for the Jets, 3 home games for them here on the schedule, and as for the Canucks, they got 2 home games. Same with a home game for the Royal Knights. Not only have they earned it on the schedule, but we've actually found a way to live stream in Terry Sawchuk, which should be a really good game, given how good these two teams are to start off the year in Charleswood and River East. St. James Transcona on a rare Saturday game in the league on the 15th. which is also my cousin Derek's birthday. Happy early birthday to him. Yeah, that's going to be a very chippy game. I know that Transcona, they're not too fond of St. James from just the things I've been told. And yeah, that should be quite entertaining on a Saturday afternoon. As for Pembina Valley, they're going to get 2 more home games this month on the 14th and the 30th. Check out our monthly packages, our yearly packages on gshowproductions.uscreen.io. We also have single game options for the games this weekend coming up available. All games will be available soon to purchase on that website service. But going back to the standings, as we take a look here, the Riels, no one's been better than them this season, and that's why they are still number 1 in the power rankings. Brought to you by Movement Fitness and Performance. The Railer Express, they hold their spot at spot number 2. As for some reason, I'm realizing these aren't the power rankings that were intended to be. One moment here, as we're going to fix that in just a moment. Gonna do this, and then do this. I'll have to adjust it too, but it'll be okay. But yeah, there was some movement in the power rankings, more so in the top 5. Teams in that top 5 ended up remaining there from what you just saw. And if we take a look at the updated power rankings, there we go, and we got the records in place too. So the Riels and the Railers, they both hold their spot in the top 2. I mean, the Railers, they have lost 2 of their last 3 games, but I don't necessarily think that loss against the Raiders now a few games ago is an indication of what this team is going to be moving forward. Sure, they did lose 3-0 to the Riels, but the Riels, quite frankly, have just been on a different level compared to every single team in this league. And you know, even though they've been down a few times, it hasn't been often. They've given up less than 1.5 goals per game at 1.3. And yeah, I mean, like 10-0, no one better than them. And I feel like that game against the Railers, they've done that to many teams. The Railers bounced back strongly against the Canucks after that loss against the Raiders, and I think that's what matters the most for this group, which still, for Transcona, is the number 1 team in terms of putting the puck in the net per game in the season this year, with a 4.7 goals for per game average, and their defensive numbers have been top 3 in both categories. Second least goals given up in the league per game at 2.2, and then they have the third ranked penalty kill at 89.8. That game against the Riels was, you know, another game where it's the measuring stick, right? They were closer on opening night, which I think is to be expected with how opening night, I feel like no team is really figured out just yet. And, of course, the Riels and Railers both have a lot of returning players, but yeah, you know, opening night is always, you're not going to see the best out of these teams, and I think you're seeing the best from the Riels now, and they're that clear-cut number 1 team that the Railers have to search for answers on how to beat them in their upcoming matchups. I know that's pretty vague, but you got to find a way to elevate your level against this Riels team if you're the Railers and everyone else in this league, in the mmjhl. As for the River East Royal Knights, they move up a spot. Same with the Hawks. The Hawks ended up having a pretty successful weekend for themselves, and this is a team that's starting to string some wins together. They won in a barn burner 8-6 over the St. James Junior Canucks. They took care of business 5-3 against the St. Vital Junior Victorias, and they win 2-1 over the Pembina Valley Twisters. Now, The reason why they don't jump up as many spots as the River East Royal Knights, when you take a look at the strength in the schedule from these past few games and how, River East fared better against the Pembina Valley Twisters compared to Charles Wood. They ended up beating, a top five opponent in the Stonewall Jets with a 5-1 win pretty convincingly, and only ended up losing 5-2 to the St. Boniface Riels 4 days before that bounce back win against Stonewall. So I think that River East, they are basically just 1 point behind the Hawks with that shootout loss that the Hawks end up having right this season. Shootout loss, I believe it was for Charles Wood. It was an overtime loss. My apologies. But yeah, for the Knights, I just feel like the wins they put together more recently have been more impressive than the Hawks, even though the Hawks are on a 4-game winning streak, not even 3. They're up to 4 games. And yeah, I think for Charles Wood, this is a group that's been building more confidence as this season has gone along. This is a team that has seen their goal differential ranked 4th in the league so far this season. A team that has a lot of different weapons that can beat you, much like River East, but River East has been just a bit better so far this season, and at this point, of course, they've beaten Charleswood already. As for Stonewall, even though they were able to fight through some adversity coming back and beating the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, gotta bump them down 2 spots since they end up, of course, losing to the River East Royal Knights, and Hawks ended up having a better weekend than them, and they've won 4 straight games. And I know I talked about strength of schedule, and Stonewall ended up blowing out Fort Garry, who's of course bumped up a few spots. But yeah, I feel like Stonewall, they're very inconsistent right now, right? Even back on the 24th, and we haven't really done the power rankings since before then, they end up losing 6-2 to Charleswood. They came back with a 10-3 win over Fort Garry in a game we broadcasted, but then going up against a top team in the Royal Knights this year, they end up losing 5-1, right? They end up having an impressive win against Raiders. I'll give them that, but still, I just feel like this team, we haven't seen the best of them yet this year. They have fared well against the teams that are, lower in the standings, the teams that they should beat, right? But against the top dogs of the league, they just haven't been able to put together those victories that I think for now leaves them out of the top 4 in 5th. But I have them up over the Twins. The Twins, very impressive past few games in terms of them stringing wins together. They end up winning 4-3 against St. Vital, and of course coming back in that game. And really, it was a great response weekend for this team after getting the doors blown off them 10-3 the Sunday before against the against the Stonewall Jets. And for Fort Garry, they end up winning 5-0 over Pembina Valley, convincingly being an opponent that they should. I feel like the Twins have a stronger roster on paper, and then they follow that up with, of course, that comeback win over St. Vital. As for Fort Garry, they end up placing higher than the Raiders. I think that the Raiders personally are a better team than the Twins are, but I think for just taking a look at recency, since this is kind of what the power rankings are, right, week to week, Raiders, I still think their past few games have been more impressive than, say, a team like the Canucks, but they've let things slip in the past few games in terms of, you come off of a huge 6-1 win against the Railer Express. Can you do it again on Halloween night against St. Boniface? And they were up in that game, but they let it slide, and they end up losing in that one 5-2. And then same against Stonewall. When they're up in that matchup, they can't quite get the job done after they're able to get off to a 3-1 lead. 3-1 lead, 2 unanswered from the Stonewall Jets, ties the game up. No goals in overtime, and they end up, of course, losing in the shootout. But them along with Stonewall, two inconsistent teams right now that have so much potential. How do they look to put it together? As for St. James, as for this squad, just taking a look, so all of a sudden the standings updated, which is odd. Oh. Okay, so this is very interesting. Breaking news actually here in the league. This just got updated. I can't show it to you right now, but I'm not exactly why. But it says this game has been forfeited. The matchup on Thursday between the Junior Canucks and St. Vital Junior Victorias, it's been forfeited by the St. James Junior Canucks. And I'm going to have to do some research into that and report back in episode 8, which is going to be coming up in a few days, since we're going to make up for some of the time that we've missed. But yeah, if anyone watching this knows the answer, let me know. And you just speculate right now, but this is news to me. St. Vital is now into 8th place here in the league, as they jump over St. James, and St. James ends up losing 2 points. St. Vital ends up going to 8 points as it stands currently in the standings. But yeah, in that game that I ended up witnessing last week, St. James against St. Vital, in that matchup, St. James did look like the better team as that game went along. That's why I have them higher than the Victorias, but they end up following it up with a tough loss against Charleswood. It could have gone either way, but they lose 5-0 the game before, on the Friday on Halloween, against Transcona. So yeah, I guess I could have put them higher up compared to them and the Raiders, but I feel like there's a bit of a gap between them and the Raiders this season, just given the potential that the Raiders have shown in terms of their goal scoring, and yeah, just given the fact that the Raiders ended up beating St. James 4-1 this season. That's why I decided to bump St. James down by 2. Vicks and Twisters, they remain in the same spot, but the Vicks now over St. James in the standings, as our power rankings brought to you by Movement, Fitness, and Performance. Going into the Players of the Month, congratulations to Nathan Brzezinski, Owen LaRock, Liam Saxberg, and Cameron Sylvester on taking home the October awards. Brzezinski named the outright Player of the Month. He's been the best player in the league to start this season, and every time I watch him play, it's really not even close. Every single time he touches the puck, he's a threat. He always seems to find a way to make things happen, whether that's putting a shot on net or dangling through 1 or 2 or even 3 opponents and then dishing the puck off, or just keeping it all himself and making a highlight reel play towards the net. There's so much to like about his game. He's such a dominant force. He's a big body player, a power forward, if you will, but also plays 2 ways. Is a very responsible player and uses his size to advantage in the corners. And for a big man, he's pretty with the puck. He makes a lot of highlight reel worthy plays, not just this season, but dating back to last season in the playoffs, where he started to really elevate his game. No surprise he gets those award honors, and he's the front runner right now for the MVP. Front runner for goaltender of the year so far too right now is Owen LaRock. What a tandem the Riels have. Alex Dominico, that is, has been really solid as the number 2 for this team this year, but it's Owen LaRock who is one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, this team got over the hump last season and made it to the championship and ended up winning it. And he's carried that elite playoff play into the start of this regular season. 4 wins. He has no losses to start off this year. He's now up to 5-0. And yeah, save percentage is elite. Goals against average is stunning. And he's played, in terms of opponents, he's gotten a lot of the top opponents that the Reals have played this season and has been able to only keep this Railer Express team to 1 goal when they faced off against the Reals this year, which that's been pretty spectacular. So that's just an example of how good he can be. Those stats are going to get a lot better as this season goes along, and wouldn't be surprised to see him winning this award again for several months coming up. As for Liam Saxberg, this has been a player that's been really promising for the Reals, or for the Victorias, that is, the Saint Vital Victorias. 9 games played, he's got 9 points. As a defenseman, that's incredible. He's been a really nice add for this team. He is a 2005 born player, but it is the first year he's been in this league on this Victoria's roster, and this is a player that is confident. He's not afraid to step up and take risks, and he's responsible because he's got good foot speed and he's able to get back and make really good defensive plays. He's elevating from the point right now, giving this Vicks team more offense from the back end, and him, along with guys like Blake Goretzky and the other players that this Victoria's team has on this decor, being able to add a guy like Liam Saxberg in is a pretty nice add for this group. As for Cameron Sylvester, he's fit in really nicely with this Transcona Railer Express team. This is a player that every once in a while he'll make big impacts throughout shifts. He's very good around the net, as we've seen so far this season. He's been a great complement to this Railer Express's top line, and they're going to need, of course, all of their pieces come playoff time to step up. And knowing that Sylvester's been in a top 6 role in his first year with this group and has been able to do just that, you got to be really confident and really pleased from what you see from this kid if you're Derek Gagnon and the rest of the Railer Express coaching staff. As we'll get into Players of the Month coming up every single month at the start of them, whenever the podcast would fall on whatever date that may be. But yeah, be sure to check them out for yourself at mmjhl.ca. As for the statistics in the league, we take a look at the scoring leaders. Brzezinski is now up to 18 points. His captain, his teammate Cole Davis, is tied with him there. Liam Urcioli, as we saw, making a big impact in that team's matchup against the Pembina Valley Twisters this past Sunday. He's top 3 in points, a point ahead of Tyson Sperber, as Sperber's played 1 less game. You take a look at this is just based off of points. We see Declan Whiteman and Nolan Vandenbush there. This Railers team, if you take a look at the actual statistics here in the league in terms of goal scorers, they have about only one goal scorer in the top of the league in Declan Whiteman. As for Bateman and Slatcher, they represent the Stonewall Jets in the top point leaders here. All these graphics designed by Bentley Brandt from Prairie Sports Network, by the way. Be sure to check them out on Instagram at Prairie_sports_network to check out all of their content. As for goaltending leaders, no one's been better than Owen Larocque so far this year. He's now under goal per game in terms of goals against average, which is pretty insane, and the save percentage also backs up how great he's been. He's got 2 shutouts out of his 5 wins, and yeah, Dominico been a pretty good compliment to his game as the second goalie for the Reals. Is tied for second in wins with Sage Delarone, Kuo, and Fontaine, as well as Wyatt, all rookies in the top 10 for goaltending leaders, as well as Martel for the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Both goaltenders for the Stonewall Jets also in the top of this category. And we also see Kyle Beelman there too, a former Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy Buffalo, and also a MJHL player as he played for the Winnipeg Freeze, I believe, which is now the Winnipeg Monarchs, or it might have been the Winnipeg Blues. But yeah, these are the stats leaders, the goaltending stats leaders, brought to you by Prairie Sports Network, G-Show Productions, and the MMJHL. Be sure to check out the MMJHL's website for more details and full stats if you're interested. We're going to throw it to a promo screen, and then we'll be back to preview the 2 games coming up tonight in the MMJHL. You're watching the MMJHL podcast here on G-Show Productions. And welcome back to the MMJHL podcast, Season 3, Episode 7. Kyle Beelman, by the way, was the Winnipeg Blues that he played on for 15 games in his MJHL career, enjoying way better stats so far with the River East Royal Knights. Excuse my voice track there. We take a look back again at the scoring leaders one last time. It's Brzezinski and Davis leading the way. Nice to see a lot of representation from all the top 5 teams throughout this top 10, but Beelman enjoying a .930 save percentage right now with a 4-2 record through his 6 first games of his MMJHL career. As for tonight, it'll be interesting to see if Manny Manuk ends up starting him in net, as they're taking on a Victoria squad which, yeah, they're going to be really hungry to get revenge in this one tonight. As for Stonewall and Transcona, they face off for another time this season. It'll be the second matchup these teams have played against each other, as last time it was a pretty high-scoring matchup down in Stonewall. It's going to be in Stonewall again tonight. Actually, the first matchup was in East End, and it was 8-4 the score for Transcona in a game which they kind of ran away with in the second period of that one. We'll break that one down in just a moment, but gonna start off with Victoria's and Royal Knights. As you take a look at the left hand side of your screen, the Royal Knights have not only gotten great contributions out of Liam Urcioli, but as well as Lane Richardson, who has 7 goals. Kalen Reynolds and Graham Maslow have been really impactful too, with 4 goals and 5 assists each. And we're also seeing rookies stepping up in terms of Karsten Wallachan with 6 goals in 10 games played. And yeah, for this group, they're also seeing the defensemen stepping up and getting involved a bit in the play, and of course getting involved with nice passing plays, making good decisions, and that's leading to assists. And then we also see the goaltending's been pretty solid from this team overall. Karsten Wallachan, the number's not as strong as Beelman's, but he's still been able to come away with well, it says 4 wins, but I believe he has 3 wins on the season. As for the Vics, talking to Tyler Anderson, this is a team that is younger this season, and the young guns have been stepping up. Tyler Free, as well as Ben Dinez, leading the way on this team with points. Free up to 6 goals. He's had a hat-trick already this season. And then we're also seeing young guns like Chris Ostorino stepping up, right? Liam Saxberg on the back end. And, of course, Blake Goretzky from the back end get involved, and their vets making good contributions right now in terms of Kobe Edwards, the Anderson twins, and now they have Luke Gillison back into the lineup. They got Blake Lee back, and they also have been able to acquire Aaron Bergshinger too. For this group, they've been able to get some solid goaltending too this season. At times, though, they've been a bit inconsistent in their own end, and inconsistent at certain moments in game, which ends up costing them, much like the third period. They're unable to finish it off against the Fort Garry Twins, unable to hold that one goal lead that they get back. So they're going up against a team tonight that will continue to come at you in the River East Royal Knights. Like Tyler Anderson said, you got to find a way to take away their time and space, and I expect this VIX team to be hungry heading into tonight, right? Looking for revenge, looking to make their way higher up into the standings, starting from the bottom through the first month, and now trying to work their way up, going up against the River East Royal Knights team that has a lot of weapons that can beat you, right? Like, just taking a look at them once again in terms of Urchioli, Richardson, Reynolds, and Maslow. How are the VIX going to be able to contain that and the rest of River East lineup tonight? You got to be able to punch back against them, and you got to find a way to try to will puck possession into your favor in this one. Take care of your own end if you're the Victorias. Take away the transition game of the River East Royal Knights, and be ready for the physicality down low if they start to dump and chase it and try to win on the forecheck. I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup tonight, and a matchup where, like Tyler Anderson said, this Victoria's team heading into that second game of the season for themselves, they looked at the record of the River East Royal Knights last season and thought that it would be a cakewalk, right? But that didn't end up being the case, and now River East is one of the top teams in the league to start off this year. As for River East, they can't fall into that same mindset that the VIX had. As the VIX, I'm looking to take advantage of maybe a slow start from River East if they do fall into that trap. But if River East can start off strong, Vic's got to be ready to punch back. And, I could expect a very close game tonight, a game that I think at most, if the Vics come to play, they could easily win this game by one goal, or if they do lose, if they bring their best and it's not enough, I could see them losing by one or two at the most. But if they don't bring their best, well, River East, they've proven they can hurt you this season. They could run away with it. As for Stonewall, they're hoping that their opponents don't run away with it tonight. As for Transcona, they ran away with that first matchup of the season at East End back on Sunday, October 5th, with a 4-goal second period after it was tied 2-all. After the first 20 minutes, and in fact it was 6 unanswered goals scored by this Railer Express team on Stonewall, because Stonewall ended up going up 2-0 to start things off in that matchup. Spencer Hunnam ended up getting the start. In net, he ended up getting Chase. I expect him to get the start again, even though when we take a look at the stats once again, Kalo maybe has been able to have a better goals against average, but honestly, I look at the save percentage more and also the wins. Hunnam has a good record this year, a better record than his counterparts, so expecting him to get the start tonight, and it's a chance for him to bounce back, right? In terms of... so try to find it again. In terms of last time he gets pulled in the matchup against the Railer Express, right? And I think that, that game is an example of just the maybe inconsistencies that this Stonewall team has had, right? And they've just been unable to really find their best game against the best teams in the league. And I expect for, the Railer Express to to bring their best again. I think that this is a team that is probably disappointed with the outcome of that 3-0 loss that they had against the Riels, a team that I think probably got a wake-up call against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, a team lower in the standings than them that ended up breaking their 6-game winning streak at the time when they ended up blowing the doors off the Railers 6-1. So I think that the Railers are going to be in a mindset of a business-like mindset tonight, and if you're the Stonewall Jets, which you're going to be at home, you're going to have the home ice advantage. How much does that matter? I'm not so sure with how I think Transcona comes ready to play tonight. But if you're the Jets, you need to be ready to elevate your game, and that's what it comes down to against these best teams in the league. Like, we take a look at the statistics. They have one of the deepest rosters in the league offensively. This is a team that it can really hurt you and blow the doors off you, as we saw against the Fort Garry Twins. And they're a team that can defend well in their own end when they do lock in, as well as getting really good saves from a good goaltender in Spencer Hunnam. I don't think he's found his best game yet. Tonight, maybe that is the night, but I'm expecting a game where it's going to be high-end opportunities in terms of, well, maybe that's not the right word. I think that it's going to be a game that's going to be played in terms of these two teams are going to try to break through transition, and I think that both teams are going to try to cut down space in the neutral zone and force each other to dump the puck and chase it down, force them to make a play in the neutral zone before the blue line instead of gaining space. Whichever team is able to open up space, though, is going to have a huge advantage in this game, because when you take a look at the standings, right, in terms of the teams that have produced the most offense in this league, right now, Stonewall is tied for the second most goals in the league. Transcona is top of the league in goals for, and I think when you take into account that these two teams, one of their trademarks is they got a lot of speed, they like to attack off of transition, they're also not afraid to dump it in and chase, right? So I think that in terms of the transition part of the game, whichever team is able to find that and find the open ice more and able to produce odd man rushes is going to have a huge advantage in this game. But if that does get taken away, the teams that are able to win on the dump and chases, win those puck battles down low, and be able to start that cycle game up, should be able to come away with the win in this one. Both goaltenders, I assume Sage Delarone starts tonight. It might be Winters, but I think that Delarone, this is a big game for this team, and they're looking for a bounce back. I could see them going with their best. As for the Riels, or not the Riels, the Jets, I think that Spencer Hunnam probably does get the start, given that he's the better option in goaltender for this team on paper. So yeah, it's going to be about what goaltenders are able to come up with the bigger saves in this one, which teams are able to defend better. I'm going to lean towards Transcona probably winning this one tonight, heading in, just because I feel like they're the more complete team at this time. But we're going to carry all of those games, both those games tonight, on our Uscreen service, as it'll be our crew down at St. Vital Centennial Arena, and as for Bentley Brandt and his Prairie Sports Network crew, it's actually going to be just him tonight. He's going to be down at Stonewall for the Jets and Railer Express. All the coverage can be seen on our Uscreen TV platform on gshowproductions.uscreen.io. We're going to throw it to one more commercial break in this one, actually to a promo, since we've shown you the commercial already twice in this over hour-long episode of the mmjhl podcast. Stick around for some final words in this edition of the show. Well, you made it to the end of this edition of the MMJHL podcast. Thank you to Tyler Anderson for coming on the show and being a guest in this episode. And special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you enjoyed this edition of the show, consider subscribing so you don't miss any new episodes, which the next one is going to be coming out in a few days. Stay tuned as we got details on our website, gshow.ca. That'll be coming out about that one. That'll be a recap in terms of the month of October, and we're gonna update the favorites rankings and all that stuff in terms of who we feel is the favorites to win the championship, the Jack McKenzie Trophy here in the MMJHL this season. Special thanks to elite prospects, goaltenders, Movement Fitness and Performance, Terrico, and Kent Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast. Of course, once again, want to show you we got plenty of games coming up this month. Games up until the 9th are uploaded on our website to purchase. It's going to be a fun weekend for us, our first ever time in Morris as a broadcast crew, and as for just coverage in general, it seems like we're going to have our first successful attempt of broadcasting at Terry Sawchuk Arena for the Royal Knights and Charleswood Hawks. It's going to be a lot of fun this week and weekend here on the network in, well, my favorite junior hockey league in the province. Until a few days from now, MMJHL fans, we'll see you again. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, giving you the peace out and waving so long, everybody, until episode 8 in season 3. We'll see you then.